Hey guys, today I want to talk about something different. We've talked a little bit about this in the past, but I want to talk about, is the craziness of the world affecting the Philippines? And you know something, one thing I noticed here, despite the fact that we had the COVID, all that stuff, and we had to wear masks and all that, everything as far as the food chain and the food supply over here has actually been pretty stable. Even during the COVID, we had a few minor shortages with some things, but like with water, because people were hoarding it. They were going out and buying as much water as they possibly could, so the stocks disappeared really fast. But we still had blue jug water, which you could get pretty readily available, and that was pretty easy to get. One of the things I noticed recently is Coca-Cola, and some of the soda is getting harder to find, at least in our area. And being a Coca-Cola buff, when I see a lot of Coke, I buy a lot of Coke. And when I go to Landers or S&R, I usually stock up with quite a lot. But I noticed that their supplies of Coca-Cola in some of the stores around here are not up to snuff like they usually are. I notice that there's empty shelves sometimes when I go get cans of Coke. I notice that the bottled Coke that I usually get, we've been trying to get it for several weeks now. It's very hard to get. It's almost impossible to get. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but I noticed that bottled soda is almost impossible to get now, which is kind of sad because that's one of my favorites because it tastes better, has a better flavor to it. It's a nice serving size. You just grab it, you drink it. You know, there's not too many calories in it. It's just something that you grab and you drink, and it tastes better than from being in a can and having that tinny taste to it. You know, it just is a lot better. But as far as supplies here, I mean, we're not seeing any gas shortages. We're seeing price hikes, okay? Massive price hikes. I'm noticing that everything is going up here. And it's even though they say it's a 5.5% inflation rate here compared to like 9 or 10% back in the States or whatever it is, 8 or 9 or 10%. Could even be more, who knows. I notice here that everything's kind of going up a little bit more. It's going up slowly, but it's kind of catching up. I notice some of the foods that I buy, the Western foods, and even Filipino foods and fruits and vegetables that I used to buy for almost nothing have almost doubled or gone up 50% or 25% or whatever. I notice fresh fruits. I notice apples, oranges, peaches, things like that are going up. Canned goods. Canned goods are very expensive now over here, unless they're Filipino canned goods, like sardines and things like that, but I don't eat that stuff. So peanut butter, jelly, anything canned, like I said, is going way up. It's kind of scary. The things that are helping us over here right now, as far as living over here and keeping up with things, is that the exchange rate for the dollar is right almost at 54. It's getting up to almost 54. It's pretty close. And I think it will probably be 54 to 1 US dollar pretty soon. And that's good for us, but it's not good for the average Filipino unless they're getting OFW money or something like that. So the gains are for people from outside the country for the most part. So if an OFW is working in Canada or the United States and they're shipping back dollars, the people back here are gaining. But with the inflation, it's probably just barely keeping up, or maybe losing, or maybe gaining. It's kind of like on the edge, and it kind of depends where you live. Because some places are cheaper than others. Our area is still pretty reasonable, but I notice when I go closer to Manila, the prices go up. If you go further south, the prices go up. But for some reason, our area, I'm not quite sure why. I haven't figured it out. But I mean, our rents have always been decent and cheap. And I do show other places around here where there are higher prices. But overall, here in Tracy Martirez, our prices for rents are exceptionally good. I mean, we still have places that you can find for $3,500 for a one bedroom. Are they fancy? No, they're not. Do they have air conditioning? Are they furnished? No. You have to furnish them. But you know what? It's worth it. Because all you have to do is go in there, stick some paint on there, switch the toilet out to a American standard toilet or whatever, and you're good, you know, and then you have all the things that you would have back home. And you can put in a shower spigot or whatever, and maybe a hot water heater if you want, and throw in some AC, and guess what? You got a home, and you got a really nice home at that. But as far as things here being stable, I think you're way better off here than you are back in the States and other countries. The people that are coming here, I mean, I know there's a honeymoon period. And once they get off that honeymoon period, it seems like their honeymoon's continuing. And I got to tell you, and there's some people that go back home and they leave and they don't come back. But very few leave and don't come back. Most people stay here when they get here. They stay here because they see the prices. They stay here because basically everything is cheaper. There's not much of a markup here on vehicles and things like that, like back in the States. Computers are still reasonable. Everything's kind of reasonable here in comparison with other countries. And the stuff that I'm hearing back in the States of vehicle costs doubling or going up 50% or 25%, even on used vehicles and stuff like that, is crazy. Because over here, you're not paying that markup because people can't afford that over here. So, you know, that's the good part about over here. The stability over here is much better. And I'm not saying that there isn't any instability here. There is. But the amount of instability is very low in comparison with Europe and the United States. Now, is it going to hit here later? It could. When we start seeing wheat shortages or we see rice shortages, which I don't think we're going to see rice shortages because there's no reason for that to happen right now. But the wheat shortages, I do think we could see that possibly before the end of the year. Now, that would make a lot of Western goods like pizza, Subs, Subway, Pizza Hut, Greenwich Pizza, S&R Pizza, those places that have wheat in their food are going to go up a lot. The French bakeries around here are probably going to go up. I can see that happening, but it just hasn't caught up to us yet. I'm not sure how much stuff is getting out of the Ukraine as far as wheat, but I'm sure that that's going to have an effect on the United States. I'm sure the stockpiles are probably still pretty good right now, but as we get towards the end of this year and we need a lot of wheat for the winter or whatever, I think we're going to start seeing more issues with that. Fruit and vegetables over here, they're pretty easy to get. Watermelon, easy to get. The funny thing about Filipinos is this, and my girlfriend's like this. When there's a shortage of food or something like that, she just goes down to the woods and gets some ampalaya leaves or whatever, or goes down and gets some mangoes or guava or something down in the woods, or some bamboo shoots or whatever, and she's up cooking those, and she's making that, and she's making her own meals. And if there is a food shortage, if there's one group of people that can probably survive better than others, it's the Filipino, because they're used to surviving like that. They're used to living on the edge, you know, and they've lived like that for centuries because they've been under rules of other people for the most part, and for a large amount of their history. And I think that has taught them how to be resilient. And I think that's one of the things that's going to save this country and make this country probably one of the better countries in the future, because of the fact that they have that built into them and other countries don't. So some of the other countries may have starvation and stuff. I'm not sure how much of that we'll see in the Philippines. I know there's poverty, but there's a difference between poverty and starvation. Okay, poverty usually breeds starvation. But in the Philippines, I noticed that people overcome that. However they do it. I mean, if you live in the city, it's a little bit harder. But if you live in the provinces, it's a lot easier to live, because you can grow stuff. You can go out in the woods. They know how to live. They know how to find things. They know what to eat. They know where to find roots. That's the great part about the Philippines. So for Americans coming here, and if you get married with the right woman or have the right girlfriend or whatever, that's going to be what gets you through a tough time. God forbid we see really tough times in this world. I'm not sure if we're headed towards that. I hope we're not. I sincerely hope we are not. But I get the feeling that's where we're going, you know, and we need to be ready. And maybe have some canned foods on the side, have some extra pasta, rice put away, at least for the next year, to get us through the next year, to make sure we're going to pull through that. And make sure that you don't have a whole bunch of people coming into your house eating all that food. And tell your girlfriend or wife, you know, hey, we need to start rationing and eating less, because we may have some tough times later on. Don't dig into this extra food that I buy. You know, maybe have a cabinet made where you can put some emergency food or whatever. Do that. I think you'll be all set. You know, just put some extra foods in there where you can make spaghetti and get some spaghetti sauce or whatever you need to keep you alive and keep you healthy. And also get some vitamins and medicines and stuff too. We don't know what's going to happen. I just think that this next year, I think the world is going to get kicked in the pants pretty good. I can see it in the world. I can see it in the stock market. I just hope it doesn't affect us here, because that's what I came here for, is to get away from all that stuff, all that havoc that's going on in the world. And like I said in the past, is that I think the Philippines is the one country that might make it through better than other countries, because of their supply chain is pretty decent. And I got to give them some credit for that. I got to give whoever is in charge of the supply chains here, they're doing a really, really good job. Anyway, guys, I just want to put that out there. Be careful. Get ready. If it doesn't happen, we're that much better off. And we got some extra food in our pantry. If it does happen, at least we'll be ready. I'm not saying if it's going to happen or not. I hope it doesn't. But at least be ready for it, because you can see something coming down the pike. It's definitely coming, guys. God bless. Take care.